All right, we should be live. So welcome everyone to the sixth core dev meeting. We did sort of the voting DApp approach again, and we also added sort of an additional item that came up over the weekend. And we're going to have like first free items. So first DApp node, then mail server, then status automation. And then we'll see how much time we have for other topics and if there are any quick announcements. And please add stuff in the HackMD link while we're going through this. So I guess to get started, Graham, DApp node demo and running a status node. Do you want to go through the sort of context and goal for this one? Graham, are you here? Can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Ah, awesome. So for this, I'm actually gonna have to hand over to Adam because I couldn't get that node working on my Mac. Well, I almost nuked it in the process. Yeah, Adam should be able to give a demo of how to get a status node up and running via that node.
Is Adam here?
Yeah. Just on mute.
Adam, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
I'm just pinging via status. He says he can't use Zoom when promoted to panelist.
He can't use when he's promoted to, okay. So what if I make him co-host? Does that work? Adam, do you see a share screen option? If you rejoin, I won't promote you to host, but I think you to panelist, but I think you need to be that in order to share your screen. All right, should we skip this one for now while we're figuring out the sort of technical difficulties?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, Adam, please write in the chat if you want to try again. So I guess with that, moving on to the next one, Smil server availability and responsiveness. So the context here that the last week we've seen sort of multiple reports and status and so on of bad availability and sort of server responsiveness of multiple mail servers. And it sort of led to some frustration and so on. And it just intuitively, it seems like we are sort of not meeting sort of our own goals in terms of how quickly we want to respond and sort of how many sort of connections we can deal with and so on. So I thought we could have an open discussion and sort of get some better understanding of what the problem is and understand sort of what we can do about it. Also in terms of sort of monitoring and what we need and coming up with sort of some actions and owners to make sure that we provide sort of a reasonable experience for end users. Does someone want to start?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I can start. What changed last week is that before the app was just sending requests to the mail server, and after 10 seconds without receiving any new old message, it would assume that the fetching of old request was done, and then remove the fetching messages pop up. And now it's since signals have been added to notify the app when the mail server requests are successful or have timed out, then we see all the timeouts that were probably occurring before but were just ignored. So previously, some of the history that was requested probably never arrived, or maybe the timeouts are a bit too large. I don't know how we get times out even when all the messages have actually been sent. I don't know, but so one of the thing that we can do to improve that and Adrian is already working on that, is to allow the app to request multiple topics at once. And also Adam or Andrea will be looking at sending more messages because right now it's sending only messages one by one. So if you look at how the app is fetching messages, it's pretty slow, which is why so many requests are timing out. And on my end, I'm working on making the mail server fetch, make one request after the other instead of all simultaneously, so that there is way less timeouts, and also change mail server whenever there is 3 consecutive timeouts. I'm done.
So why do we get timeouts? Like, is it a matter of not dealing with enough concurrent connections? So what's the
the timeout happens when you, after 10 seconds, you didn't receive all the messages, and but it's just I think it's after 10 seconds we should have received all the messages. And if I understand correctly, one of the problems is that it sends messages one by one, so the speed at which messages are sent is pretty low. I don't know if there is some kind of ping pong going on with acknowledgement of received messages, but that would be why it's so slow, if it's how it works. Because then if each message is acknowledged one by one, you need a round trip for every message. Maybe Andrea or Adam can tell us more about how it works exactly, because I don't know for sure.
Yes. So I can say something about it. So first of all, I wanted to build kind of something like a tool to measure the performance of the messages and why they're slow, because even when they are sent one by one, it still should be pretty fast. And there's no any acknowledgement or anything other than on protocol level. So it's TCP. So it's just like, the standard protocol acknowledgement of packets, but that's it. So also the number of messages is not that huge, because as you said, currently we send requests for each channel, and it's not like thousands of messages, like hundreds. So at most, so it should be fine. So I don't know exactly the reason which is behind this slow passage of messages from my servers to the device. That's the one thing to look into, and I'm working on this right now. But yeah, the rest is true. Definitely we can send envelopes in packets, like Whisper protocol itself operates now. My server kind of was never adjusted to that, so it always sends like one message, one envelope at a time. So that's why it's slow. But from my side, it's first figuring out exactly why it's slow. Like what's the reason because it's kind of we don't have right now any tools that could tell us exactly what's going on.
Is it for certain that it's just a matter of slowness and not sort of some availability issues?
No, that's fine. Let me check. Yeah, I can check it quickly now, but recently when I was looking into that was fine. We still have a lot of space for like spots on the main servers to connect to, so that was okay. It just suddenly got slower, and the only thing that changed is the number of messages in the channels. So I assume that it's somewhere there.
Can we just do a quick sort of, anyone in sort of this call, what type of errors have you received? Chad, you wrote something in chat. Do you want to speak up?
So I've had a lot of issues where messages just don't download. And so that's a fix. To fix that, I've been logging out and logging back in or changing mail servers. I've also been getting explicit could not connect, like tap to retry type errors that have been showing up. And a lot of the time, like fetching messages is just shown constantly. But in general, it seems pretty hit and miss. Sometimes messages seem to be coming in, no problems. Other times I'm getting like black spots.
Yeah, I can say that I'm recently using desktop like for 90% of my time, and I can see that's a little bit slow in terms of downloading messages, but I've never seen any problems, any errors with that. It's a bit slow, so when I open it after a few hours, I can see it's like, the message is visible for 20, 30, 40 seconds, but they load. I've never seen any error. So
how many chats do you have on the desktop, including one-to-one public chats?
Yeah, it's around 10.
Okay, I have probably 50 or 60.
Could be a problem. That could be a problem then.
It just increase the time for request. Like every chat is 3 seconds. Because a request for a day is around 3 seconds most of the time.
Can we get some basic monitoring for this?
Yeah, so that's what I'm building. I'm trying to build like exactly this tool where you could send a concurrent request and define how many concurrent requests you want to send, and measure just the response and how long it takes to do that. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to build.
But no, are we measuring any socket timeouts on the production?
Yes, we do, but that's that's kind of right now telling us that main server process time is up to 6 seconds, but there are spikes. Like usually it's much below 2 seconds to process the whole.
Yeah, but I mean the socket timeouts when the peer drops because of the network issues.
It's not like peer drops. It's as long as I remember, it's not about peer dropping. It's about the logic that times out, and it times out when it does not receive all messages that were supposed to receive. So there could be potentially a problem with the logic itself. I'm not sure about if that's 100% correct.
Yeah, but we have monitoring on how many times per day we receive this logic times out, or do we? Can we?
This is some
can you tell us last week or like?
I mean, this timeout is on client side, so okay. No, I don't think so. Yeah, this timeout is purely on the client side.
Okay, do we monitor a median time to actually fulfill the request? Because that will also tell
on the server side.
Yeah. So how big is it right now on average?
On average, it's like I said, it's very low. Yeah, so there's spikes that are as high as 8 seconds, but they're very rare, and usually you get the response in like below 2 seconds. It's still like 99th percentile is like 3 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So on the server side, it's fine. So, but yeah, you know, there
and
could
it's on
be
all
some
machines, right? So
yep.
Okay.
All right, cool. Is there something else that we want to talk about under this issue?
Just something to add some color. So on analytics.status.m, you can see some messaging stats, including messages per day being collected from a handful of public channels. And there's a link that you can click that will show you what channels. But so far, we're doing around 2,000 messages a day just from the channels we're monitoring. But it could be more than that.
So just to add to that, I wanted to. I'm not sure if we have status analytics channel yet. I guess it's not really anyone.
Yeah, we have it.
That. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I checked actually that, and we need to divide it by 3 because we have 3 bots, and we might don't. Oh, so let me just quickly confirm that. Because we recently changed the bot to run in the infrastructure, the main infrastructure. So let me just confirm if it's actually 2,000 or it's a bit.
Maybe we can do it outside of the call. It seems like a detail.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh yeah, sure. I'll type on the channel the results.
Cool. Anything else under this topic, or should we go back to try that now?
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry, just to clarify. Adam, you said you're building a tool that will measure how many concurrent requests can status the mail server nodes handle? Like something like stress testing the nodes?
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, okay.
Cool. All right. Adam, do you want to try screen sharing again? See if it works.
I am on mobile actually. I couldn't connect on desktop, so I can't really share my screen. I don't know what's happened, but whenever the Zoom was crashing.
So just for some context, so this is about DAppNode, and DAppNode is this, for those who don't know, it's this initiative where it makes it very easy to sort of be a persistent node for any kind of peer-to-peer application. So this could be like running your own full node or status node in this case, or I guess an augur, like all these types of dApps that need some kind of node that you connect to, and it has sort of script, so you can run it on your own sort of virtual server or your own server at home, and it's based on Ubuntu and so on. And they have this admin panel, and you can connect via some kind of VPN solution or whatever directly to it. And the idea is that we want to run status there because it sort of enables us to have many sort of nodes that can act as mail servers and boot nodes, and people in the community can sort of run them. And this would be in sort of conjunction with something like desktop, but with DAppNode, it would be more likely to be persistent and like high availability because it would be online for a longer period of time. And one of the OKRs is that we want to run status on 50 nodes. So we would need to sort of make sure that this is smooth and easy to set up. And I think that's, Adam and Graham, do you want to sort of add some stuff to this? So correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to sort of make this easy to run and also get multiple people, core devs, people in this call sort of try it out and see how hard it is. And then sort of we have a guide and we can push it out to the community. Is that roughly accurate?
Yep, that's exactly it. So I'm arranging a call with the DAppNode guys to basically get a bit of tutorial about how to host DAppNode on a DigitalOcean account. On the weekend, I went through the process of trying to set up on my Mac, and I promptly found out that if I was successful, I would have completely nuked my Mac. So don't try run DAppNode on your own personal computer. And yeah, if anyone's keen, I'll send out an invite for the kind of the tutorial with the DAppNode guys about how to get up and running. on DigitalOcean.
Yeah. So
yeah. Sorry. Good.
Yeah, just wanted to add to that yeah, I tried it on DigitalOcean actually, and it's pretty easy. So you pretty much the instruction is that you just execute some commands like bash 2 commands to install dependencies in the node itself, which is a little bit tricky because I'm not a fan of executing some bash scripts get from the website, but that's their instruction. So yeah, but after that it's fine. So it installs. You need to configure VPN connection to that node, to your server, and that's pretty much it. So it starts. You just follow a host name, open that in the browser, and you got access to it through VPN. So it's secure. It's not like you don't need to do anything else on your server. You have already these things configured. And yeah, the blockchain syncs automatically. It starts syncing in the background. So after a few hours, you have a full node up and running. I'm not sure if it's full node or it's like just light syncing. I'm not sure about it. And yeah, after that, you can just install status node by clicking one button and you are set. So it's fairly easy. It's really like kind of approachable.
So when you click it, do you get back an e-node that you can then add as a mail server and boot node in the status app?
That's what I wanted to configure. I think you should definitely be able to do that on your desktop when you have a VPN. And I tested it on Mac, and that's fine. You could just configure VPN using the standard Mac OS tools to get the VPN connection, and it works fine. On the phone, I got iPhone. I haven't tried it yet, but that's what I wanted to do next. So I want to configure VPN. Exactly following the steps that they posted on their website, and see if I can connect to my mail server, for example, or just using the RPC endpoint.
If you don't, can you also connect to it without having a VPN? So you sort of open it up, and you have some. Like, is that possible as well?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, you have the IP of your server available. I'm not sure how it's configured in terms of ports. So, for example, because all these things run in a Docker container, so I haven't checked it yet. If those ports are available for the IP, probably not. But yeah, I'll check this. I haven't seen any instruction on their website that allows you to use this stuff without VPN. It's yeah, that's another question for them to ask. But yeah, for now I can only confirm VPN.
So cool. So since we can't have a demo, what about like making like a short list of instructions or a video, and then we can get maybe 5 people in this call to commit to trying it, and then if it works, we can push it out with community marketing, since we're like 2 weeks away from end of quarter and Prague. Does that sound like it's doable?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's doable. The only problem right now is that they are kind of the owner of the status node package that it's in DApp node. So because you can define your packages and install them, and right now it's listed by default when you install DApp node, so that's cool. However, we do not control that. So they based this on the most recent version, but when we would like to update this package, we would probably need to contact them and ask for doing that. So that's another thing that I wanted to resolve. But other than that, I think it's fine. I mean, all the steps and the connectivity works fine. So I think we can definitely prepare a video, at least for core devs now, to follow some instruction how to run that and test it. And later, if it's turned out to be okay, to do that for the community. And yeah, in the same time, you can work with them to kind of, move the ownership of that package to us. So that we could do updates and other things.
Awesome, cool. So I'll commit to try it out. Who else will commit to try it out on this call? If we get this episode.
I can try it out, but I also have a question. So what exactly does this status node do? Is it like a Whisper relay plus mail server, or is it also a LES server? Or
It's configurable. So right now, it's very simple. You could just switch between Whisper, Relay node, or Mail server. So it can operate in two modes. But their interface is possible to be configured. So if you have a package and you have more options, you could specify them in the package, and they will list in the UI, and you can change them and pass these values through a config, through a JSON file, or through environment variables.
Because if it's just Whisper, you don't need to wait for blockchain to sync, because you don't
That's
use blockchain.
Yeah, but that's the problem with this thing, that that packages are stored and managed in a smart contract. So what you could do is to build a package, upload an IPFS, and pass a link in that UI to install it and run it. But currently, it won't list status as an available package without syncing the chain, because the packages definitions are stored on the blockchain. So that's the one of the issues right now that I also listed and sent them in an email. That's kind of bad experience for people who want to just try it from our perspective, because they need to wait for the chain, and we need it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can try it as well.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Right?
Yes.
I have a question regarding this DApp node. Is it possible to register in the discovery network from the DApp node? Do you know your public IP address?
I'm not sure yet about it. So I wanted to check this. Right now, I can only say that it's the node itself is available for VPN. I don't know if it's possible easily to use it with public IP.
The thing is that if it's not, then it's not really that useful, right? Because it doesn't increase the level of decentralization. It just connects to the same Whisper relays, and that's it. And
sorry. More information about it. So I just got fixated on the Mail server case. Then the Whisper node itself, it registers to our beta cluster by default. So actually, it's part of the network.
So it registers, and where it gets public IP.
I think it just uses the server IP. But okay, but it connects to, it must be public, and the port, I guess it must be public as well, because otherwise it would not connect. But you can see logs in DApp node that it can connect to other peers and pass messages. We tried this, so we checked if the metrics are updated, and they are. So actually, this node running DApp node relays messages. So it needs to.
But if other peers can connect to this node, it doesn't prove that this node. First, this node need to provide public IP to other peers for those peers to connect to this node. So
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure about it. It definitely it itself can connect to other peers, but I'm not sure if other peers can connect to it. Yeah.
If it can itself connect to other peers, then this is what I am saying. It's not that useful, because it doesn't increase the level of decentralization of the network. I just wanted to point out that.
And because most of the peers have exactly the same problem. If you run it on your mobile phone behind the router, they also can connect to other peers, but no one can connect to them. So it's like two completely separate worlds. But I think in general, there might be a good idea of trying to pierce net using VPN. That also might be. It's a little bit heavyweight, more heavy than not like piercing, but it still might be a good idea, especially if you make the target network public and allow all the necessary ports, and if the nodes will know their own public IP addresses, then it might be one more option.
It will be the
Cool.
same problem as with status desktop once we will try to use it as relays because of NAT.
Yeah, but there, I mean, I was looking at how at lib P2P stuff, and they use WebRTC APIs to pierce NATs, and WebRTC is pretty good at that. It's like 80% success scenario of piercing NATs. So it's we might do something with this APIs.
I'm sure that they have P2P transport for Golang, because for IPFS they are not using WebRTC for.
Sorry,
they're not using it.
Sorry, in the interest of time, can we stay on topic? And if we want to talk more about it, we can talk about it next call.
Yeah, I thought it's about on topic now.
Yeah, it was mostly about how useful these are without not.
But that node you can have a IP, right? So it's not the same case as a.
No, but it just Adam tell that you need to have a VPN connection. But well,
yeah,
maybe it's. But if you have to have open a VPN connection for each DApp node thingy, and if it's impossible to just discover them from your normal running application, they are not very useful. I agree with Dmitry.
Okay, sorry. So go on. Yeah, okay.
So it means that the normal user should just run status, and this status should be able to discover using rendezvous or whatever these nodes that run in the app node. Of course, it's maybe a first iteration when it's impossible. Maybe later it will be improved.
Sorry, I'm probably ignorant about something here. If you're running it on a server and you have a static IP, and that's how the node is computed, and you have a static IP, like why is that not enough?
But why do you need the app node then if you can just run it on a public server?
Because it's a usability thing, right? Like it's a one-click thing as opposed to having to deal with sort of all the sort of setup and permissions and these things, right? And it gives you multiple services. It's more of a UX thing than anything.
But then I misunderstand what's VPN is for.
I think when I tried, my understanding is the VPN is mostly for admin stuff, and not sort of. But I'm not clear about that either. As well, I agree.
Yeah, if you have public IP, public static IP, then awesome. Like it should be visible to status, and then everything will work great.
That's the problem I had when I set up the DApp node. I didn't try a lot, but I had like a static IP and I booted it and I could use it with the VPN, but I couldn't find like an E node. I was just looking for an E node so I could connect to my node there without being connected to the VPN, but it wasn't possible. I don't understand why either.
Okay, so it's more of a technical issue that we need to resolve with DApp node, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
but I agree. The general sort of problem is a good one, and it's a bigger one with the libp2p move and how we should deal with it.
Yeah, what I was saying about libp2p is that I wasn't able to find WebRTC transport for libp2p written in Golang. There is only one in JavaScript, and yeah, so that would be a big issue.
Yeah, but there are C++ libraries for iOS and Android that implement WebRTC completely. So worst case, maybe we can port them like we do with React Native. I don't know, but they have, or at least they have full implementation of WebRTC stack in Chrome, which is open source, which is also useful. But they also working with Go implementation of NAT traversal separately. I don't know if they restarted this work, but there is a experimental repository for that specifically for Go. So in libp2p.
Okay, so with regards,
go ahead.
With regards to people try and DApp node out, I've got Oscar, I've got Igor, Dmitry. Can I put you down?
Yeah, I can try.
Sweet. And then 2 more people. Any volunteers?
It would be nice with someone semi-technical, non-technical, because these are.
I can try, actually.
Awesome.
I think, I mean, once DAppNode is running, it seems to be fairly simple. You know, they got a GUI interface and you just kind of like click deploy. But getting DAppNode up and running is fairly challenging in the sense that you need to have a DigitalOcean account or a spare server kind of lying around. But something a little bit more powerful than a Raspberry Pi. Yeah, anyone else?
I can do it.
Ah, sweet. Who's that? Andrea. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, cool. I'll be in touch with regards to like meeting invites to meet with the DAppNode guys to go through the installation process.
Also, I guess we can also talk in core infra if there are sort of other questions. Bonus points if someone does it not on DigitalOcean. If someone has hardware, I don't know if I think that would be awesome if we could do that, but it's a bit harder maybe.
Yeah, my dream scenario was getting this working on a Raspberry Pi so we could distribute them at the hackathon and distribute 50 Raspberry Pis and hit our goal that way.
I think they recommend at least 8 GB RAM minimum, so that might be difficult.
Yeah. No, it's impossible. I contacted the DAppNode guys already. It doesn't work on a Raspberry Pi. Well, not now anyway.
Cool. All right. Anything else on the DAppNode? Any questions or additional comments? Cool. Status automation, Igor?
Yeah. So as you read, the background is that Slack was very good with having different types of integrations. And since we're moving to status, one of the big like sort of impediments or something that we lose is this different type of automation when, I don't know, somebody published a blog post or there is a new PR or even the history thing. So, and we used to have these bots that we're using specifically for testing that can spam channels and read channels in Go before. So my idea was to maybe reuse this SDK or something like this to create one example bot, which will be very well documented and it will be literally like an example. And then since we have a hackathon coming, then it would be nice to have some docs and this example to have some hackathon maybe ideas about which kind of bots we want and yeah, essentially implement them. But there is also this constant struggle right now with okay, every now and then our protocol is changing and we also want to rethink our protocol. So that's sort of, I mean, maybe the perfect timing for that would be after we will rebuild and implement some more formal protocol that we have right now. But on the other hand, we have this problem right now with lacking of automation. So I just was thinking to discuss what do you guys think about how should we implement this example? Should we use like JavaScript or Clojure and use the same code as Status does? Should we just re-implement everything in Go or like rather fix the existing libraries and do it this way? So yeah, I just wanted to, and in general, I want to raise awareness that there are bots. And so when people change something in the protocol, these bots will probably break. So it's a few times in the chat room, it was a kind of a surprise that, oh, we have some bots that are doing something. So yeah, that's my thoughts. So my point of view is that we probably should continue with this status Go SDK and just make it better and document it and prepare it to the hackathon, and then try our best to support it when the status protocol evolves. Yeah, but that's kind of point of discussion. So what do you think? Should we do it in Go, like re-implementation, or should we just use Clojure with its own set of like trade-offs?
I can only share my experiences with both. So the current Status Go SDK kind of assumes that you have a node status node running somewhere aside. So you either use something on your server or you run it locally and communicate with it through HTTP protocol, I guess, or yeah, it was, or maybe it was IPC, like interprocess or HTTP, it doesn't matter. The other approach that I was trying to explore recently was to write bots that are kind of that run the status node embedded into it. So you do not need to run two processes and communicate with them, just one. So and that was pretty nice in my opinion. So but that would imply that we run this as that we write this thing as Go SDK pretty much. Just kind of experience that I had. So yeah, I think it would be ideally it would be great to have both. So either you run a simple bot that you do not care about a specific, like a different process that runs somewhere aside, and you just explore chats and whatever you want. And the other thing is that you have a permanent node running somewhere, and you just want to connect to it and communicate through HTTP or some other protocol. That would be ideal to have both, actually.
So does it mean that in the perfect scenario, we implement this status underscore APIs that are accessible via RPC with everything that we want for bots, and then we just have a super thin layer in whatever languages you want that you can just communicate with RPC? Or
I see that status nodes, they should replace servers. So imagine that wherever a server role is, will be the role of status nodes, but we agree on, the user agree which server they choose. So I think we start without payments and later we implement the payments for the servers or subscription. But I think that is basically processing the blockchain information, events, and push notifications as the white paper. So having a bot, starting up as a bot, the simple commands like responding on a contract event should be the basics, the most minimal valuable product. So
no, I think in this case we were talking about Whisper automation specifically, like based on Whisper, not a blockchain. So frankly, none of the bots that were requested, at least, and they were about like smart contracts. Maybe this is the next phase, but right now it's mostly about, okay, we have a new blog post up on our Ghost, and we want, I don't know, in the status channel, we want automatically to have a message about it. Or someone opened a PR, for instance, in some repository, and in another channel, we want a message about this. Or Fastlane uploaded a build or something like this.
I'm saying about this example of a smart contract event because we have a multi-sig, and I wanted that when I create a transaction, that multi-sig, using that event, another users of that multi-sig receive a message automatically from this. So this is a simple use case I can describe. But I see that we can start only with Whisper. But I think that is the roadmap going towards events in the blockchain.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a good point, because also shows that we actually use both, because for some people who want to interact with the blockchain and write bots that also do interact with the blockchain, it's essential that they have access to blockchain. And if we just go with a way that you write a bot with embedded Whisper, now you need to use Infura or any other RPC endpoints, because it's not feasible to run ephemeral node easily. I mean, the syncing blockchain is fairly slow. So yeah, I mean, it's a good point that for bots that do interact with the blockchain, the other way where you have bots that communicate with the node through HTTP or whatever, it's kind of a better approach than running a bot that embeds the node within it. So yep.
Yeah, because then you can use the normal APIs of Ethereum to just subscribe to an event, or subscribe to a log, or subscribe to whatever.
Yeah. So I think we need to consider these two cases.
Yeah. I think it makes sense. And then
and it's also what
yeah.
Sorry, what's the status of the node bindings? Because if we want to be able to write bots with Clojure and ClojureScript, it might be the best path to be able to use node bindings.
Frankly, it's the first time I hear about node bindings. So what do?
Well, it was something that was being done a few months ago. I think there was a swarm about it, but it kind of died out. And I think if we want to be able to make bots in JavaScript or ClojureScript, it's the way to go, because we could reuse part of status code base.
But if you want to make a bot in JavaScript, why do you need some bindings? Just launch status D process and connect to it using HTTP. I just don't understand what's the role of bindings, and I don't know what are the bindings, but what are the role of bindings?
Regarding this,
things like create an account or that kind of stuff. That's not something you can do via RPC, I think.
I think
right now we already have this status underscore some APIs like to create accounts, because here in creating accounts in some other places we have our custom code that we are not creating account like a normal Whisper account, things like that. But I think that was one of the patches that was landed a while ago that actually has this status underscore create account or something like this.
Yes, so there is a regular RPC method for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the idea was then that we are leaning towards is that we just expand this API more. So, and then you can write a client in whatever code you want. Like it will be just available through Web3 object. Or we can make it available through Web3 JavaScript object, JavaScript if you want.
So could you explain how that works exactly? And right now we're the primary consumers of Whisper, but if there, let's say that a lot of people were using the parity implementation, like how would it work in that case?
Yeah.
For us, I don't know actually how would it work, because if we are, we are running our own, so I don't think it would be possible to run it on top of standard Whisper implementation and still have everything work. So that's what was one of my actually questions. So should we run it like should they be just Whisper nodes, or should they be status nodes? Because being them like a status bots rather, not nodes. So if there are status bots, then it implies that they use status like accounts like status and things like that. If they are Whisper, then it implies that they just read envelopes and react to envelopes, and we just.
To me, it makes sense to develop this capability on top of our application protocol, which is on top of Whisper or PSS or anything else.
Yeah, that was my idea. Yeah, and imagine that we just right now we are in status Go SDK. It's just Go code, and it has stuff like join public channel, read messages, send messages, and some very basic API. But there it's status specific, so it's essentially reads from public chat rooms and writes to them, and in the message format that status understands. And using topics like status uses topics and things like that. So, but it's implemented in Go. So I was thinking that this API that is right now in Go should be just maybe moved, like hidden behind RPC and just exported via RPC calls. So I think JavaScript can call it.
I think that a great way to create these bots is using a scripting language. I'm not sure if you agree with that, but I use it a lot of software that to do extensions you need to learn a simple language, that many other softwares use it. That, for example, is Lua is one of them. Of course, it could be done in JavaScript, in C, in anything, but this language is really simple, and maybe we can create the bots in these simple scripts, and maybe it's easier for users to develop these extensions, even for server or for desktop, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, with these bots, it's also about deploying them, right? So they should not be only easy to write, but they should be fairly easy to deploy.
Yeah, I also just getting back to, for example, this create account stuff and other things. Yeah, so for me, if we decide that status node is required and we'll just use RPC to do things like create account, and that's kind of that's probably a short path, but also not the kind of dead end maybe. So my thinking was that we will try to build a protocol and describe it in a documentation, and anyone can write, recreate these things in any other language and be independent from Whisper or from nodes at all. So for example, this create account, at some point that would require a connection to Whisper node, but you could actually create an account using this library and not do that with status node. So that was my impression some time ago when we were thinking about it. That's of course a lot of work, but yeah, that's kind of powerful because then you can just replace Whisper with whatever.
I kind of agree with that approach as well. And if we had you can do code generation with protocol buffers. So if we use protocol buffers, we could have implementation, specific languages, whatever language people are comfortable. They could sort of, here's how you use our protocol. And then maybe we just start with Go because that's what the person who wants to push this wants to use, but it's sort of agnostic.
Yeah, but where would it be? Okay, so it should. I mean, you have to have a Whisper node locally right now, or in the same place where you right now.
Yeah, at some point that's correct. At some point you need to connect to Whisper to send this message, but yeah, I mean, it would be ideally the whole way of creating an account, for example, that would be described as a step by step in a documentation format, in text, and then you could just use some very small libraries to do that, and just at some point connect to Whisper to upload to store your key pretty much, and that's it. So if that library, I mean, in my opinion, that library should work also without Whisper. So it's for example, when I would like to test it, that would just work. I don't know. I could just plug in a libp2p and just connect both nodes through libp2p. That's it, and just start sending them unencrypted messages or whatever, and be able to communicate in that way. And if I decide to use Whisper as a transfer protocol, I just configure that library with a Whisper IPC file or whatever, and then it starts to use Whisper and talk through Whisper to different nodes. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, but I think then, we are having this initiative about rebuilding the protocol and having it more formal with all the descriptions that Jacek will lead. And then maybe there should be multiple generations of bots, because right now for ourselves, we want something that just works, like archive and kudos and things like that. It's just not about, maybe then it's too early to have a hackathon about this. Maybe we should just hack something ourselves to just make it usable, to make status more usable inside the company, inside ourselves, but don't open it that much unless we have this actual protocol design.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can have, because that was the idea essentially behind the protocol as well. So we can probably, because you mentioned it in the protocol discussion, so we probably want to be able to swap Whisper to PSS and things like that for the new protocol. But
Yeah. So I think that we definitely need to have kind of a like description, a vision of this bots thing, and how we want to evolve that in the future, provided that we have this protocol that it's totally separate, right? So I also definitely agree that for now, what we want is to have some bots that can talk to public channels. Probably that's it. And yeah, do like automate some things. And we definitely don't need this protocol right now. But it would be at the same time would be great to to somehow envision all this stuff, all this process, and how we want to build bots right now. But that's not like the final state of it, and how it's gonna evolve in the future. So not to not to lock ourselves in one solution, which we need to rewrite in a few months. But yeah, I agree that right now we need to do something very simple.
So anyone has any thoughts about around this? Otherwise, we might probably add these two requirements to the new protocol, so it should be scriptable or something like this. So you should be able to write bots, so we are not forgetting about this one, designing it. So and think from the inception that we want some bots.
What do people think of what Ricardo said before in terms of interacting with contracts? Because that's like form of bot as well, right? Like you have humans, and then you have these contracts that are agents as well, and not sort of bots in the sort of daemon sense, but in the computer sense. Do people have any thoughts on it?
No, but if we have a local node running, like, and we have bots with a status node, let's say, running, that is not and it doesn't use Infura, then you can use a normal RPC calls.
I guess if you're a smart contract, you don't have a Whisper node because you live on it everywhere, right?
Yeah, but I mean, to write a bot, you still need to be somewhere to land this bot. It sort of connects these two worlds, right? Because it takes an event from, let's say, a smart contract and then notifies Whisper about this event. So, because that's what we're talking about, right? So like when something happens to the smart contract, somebody signs some transaction, there is a message in some channel or some other action.
Guys, this is what I imagine. The status node just take the event and broadcast in a channel, and also it's up to the receiver of the message to trust and check that information right now, because we don't have a method of proofing the event to the in the Whisper, because you need the blockchain synced to check the information. So even if someone said maybe in future we have some fancy cryptography to solve that problem.
Yeah, like send a proof together with event. Yeah, but yeah, right now it looks like that you still need a node to write this. So your bot will still sit on top of the node because it needs to send Whisper messages. So it still will be somewhere.
Yeah. All right, cool. Any other thoughts on this one? I get one question I have: how can we make sure that this is sort of something that we don't spend a lot of time sort of writing these bots, that we sort of make it well documented, and then we let the community sort of help us build out all the things that we want integration for?
That's the question with the new protocol, because does it make any sense to share it with the community before we actually start, or just before we want to rewrite our protocol or redesign the protocol in a more proper way? Or so because before this meeting, I more was leaning towards that. Yeah, we're making one bot that people want the most ourselves and document it, and then just give it like and hackathon and things like that. So, and maybe put some bounties that the community helps us. But right now, I'm not that sure.
I think we probably shouldn't put any like hard dependencies on like some future rewrite protocol. instead sort of assuming that what we have now is what we have, and then we'll see in the future if we have breaking changes, then we'll have to update some stuff and so on, but that's fine. But I wouldn't sort of assume that, oh, we're going to have this breaking thing, so it's not worth doing anything. That's my opinion anyway.
But then,
do people have, what are people's thoughts other in general?
I've got a kind of like a, I guess, a UX question, which is, how would someone know or be able to verify the authenticity of a bot? So if I get pinged by a bot that, say, is representing the status voting app, how can that relationship be determined or be like validated?
The status node need to sign a message with its public key, and there is trust that is required. So the client need to trust this node.
The client. Yeah, there's no other way. You should know this node and trust this node, and know that it's private and that it's signed with its public key, and it's fine. I guess there is no other way at first, at least, unless we want to do something super fancy cryptography.
I mean, and then with this, I mean, again, I'm just thinking about it from a user perspective who's got like no idea of what's happening in the background. How would the client then display and what information would the client even display when engaging with a bot? I assume the best user experience would be like an ENS domain name. But any ideas around that?
Well, I guess it might be a good idea to register the account, like the identity of the node in the ENS, and just display it. Otherwise, I don't see it. It probably shouldn't be that different from other users. It's just like, because right now, sort of some user can just come to the public channel and just send, oh, we have like a new entry in the blog post, and that's it, right?
Yeah, I'm a bot.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I mention it is, I'm sure if you guys have spent a bit of time on Telegram, there's like a ton of Telegram Bitcoin spam bots, which are like, hey, invest in this Bitcoin scheme, send Bitcoin to this this key, and then we'll like invest it for you, or you can choose to invest in the miners or whatever. There's a lot of that. So I'm just interested in terms of like, if this does kick off, we're definitely going to get a situation where you're going to get different accounts essentially like impersonating bots in order to phish. So I'm just thinking about how we can like, create.
These bots would need to like send a message to too much people. So they need to know what is the public key they are sending to. We have then ENS usernames that will help them figuring this out. But then we should implement something like the tribute to talk or visibility stake on public chat messages. But in my opinion, you should not differ. You should not know if it's a person or a robot just by looking to the message. So this is a feature of the.
I agree, because it's the same as, and protecting from phishing should be the same. Like, because right now somebody can try to impersonate someone from status team, for instance, on the public channel without any bots and things like that. So we need a protection from phishing, period, or from spam. But it shouldn't be like different from the bots or from like a person.
I agree. It seems like a general reputation trust thing.
Cool. Thanks.
Do you have anything else on this sort of bot topic, Igor, in terms of, what are your thoughts?
Right now, So I was thinking that we might, since right now all the people who wants to start with automation, at least that I heard, are essentially from the Go side of things. So I think that we'll start with probably the Go implementation of some high level and simple API. And we'll try to focus on that. It won't change with the protocol, underlying protocol structure. So it's like probably should be as sort of business oriented or whatever you call. So it should operate on this high level that doesn't know anything about Whisper or anything, so it can be replaced in the future without hurting the API itself. Yeah, I mean, I would really love to have like a JavaScript version of that, but I don't think it will be by the hackathon, because usually JavaScript is the language that almost everyone can write in, but I don't think it's feasible for now, at least before the hackathon. So yeah.
If we can write up like some high quality use cases, like if we make one well, and then we have some high quality use cases, then we could announce it at the hackathon and have like 5 large bounties or something, and people can try to implement kudos or whatever. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's why we want to start with something quickly, and then we don't need to wait. So yeah, essentially, then the goal is back to square one. We want only one bot, but well documented as an example, and some documentation to it. So on hackathon we can actually announce bounties, and of course description of the other bots that how we think they should behave, at least in on high level.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I guess we have 20 minutes or so. Does anyone have something medium-sized that they want to talk about, or any quick announcements?
I'd love feedback on the voting DApp. So I see only 4 people voted this week, which is about 50% lower than last week, or last time we did it. But yeah, in general, how's the voting been going? Any features you'd like to propose or anything along those lines?
I would really love to be able to see the results without having MetaMask or anything installed. Yeah, because right now even or maybe it's hard, but would be the top feature for me, at least. Because as of now I can only vote on mobile in general, but when people just see, I mostly work on my desktop, so when I see GitHub comments with like, oh, this is a link to this vote, I usually open it on a desktop and nothing happens because I don't have Web3 installed on desktop.
You could log into MetaMask with your status wallet, which will allow you to do that, but then you're going to be logged into like many places, which isn't great.
I just for read-only results. I don't want to vote right now, or if I want to vote from desktop, I will definitely sign into MetaMask or somewhere. But just to be able to see the results without it, it would be awesome.
Maybe some people haven't said anything. Have any thoughts on the voting process, or like I don't know, Goran or Jacob or Max or Roman or Richard?
Not really.
Anyone who hasn't said anything so far? Have any thoughts? Jacob? Roman?
Sorry, what is the question?
Graham was asking about feedback for the voting app. I guess what would make you use it? Do you find it useful or not? Or yeah,
I need to check it first. Yeah. No feedback from my side. I haven't seen it yet.
And just in general, I mean, have you guys felt that voting for the hot topics has like led to better topics or better? Is it a good way to be running this meeting, or is it a good way to be deciding the agenda?
Can we vote for that? No joke.
Yeah,
It's too
that's a
meta.
good one.
I like it. I think like for this type of things, voting is cool. I'm not fan of voting for anything or for everything, because that's voting is not the best way. But for just selecting topics, I think that's fine. But we also should look at which topics are necessary to be discussed. So some of those should be included because they are important for some reason. But for the rest, voting sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I
Adam.
agree with Adam. It's like maybe one topic that is expedited and that's like super important to discuss might go around voting, which mail servers actually did, and then the other topics. I think it's pretty good because we have enough time to discuss.
Also, maybe we can talk about if we have time about ENS usernames.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you? Yeah. What do you want to talk about with respect to it? I guess. Sorry.
So,
go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the response to the review now it's fine. We can deploy it and start using it according to the auditors, and we will have no problems. I just wanted to know about the price of the names that we want to use. So Rachel suggested 10 SNT to don't become a too big problem to like user entry. So, but we can change the price in future if needed. So that would be the question.
I mean, what are the consequences with making the price too low? Like, if we had to make it one S&T, which is what, about $4 US cents. I mean, does making the price like introduce some kind of behavior that we don't want, like, you know, going ahead and bulk buying?
The slashing reward will be too small. I think 10 SNT for the slashing is also too small, but it would be like it still makes a problem for people registering bad usernames. So if you make the smaller you make, you make easier for scratching lots of names, and like the price of registration is just because of security, like to reduce these problems and give a reward in the slashing. So I think we can't go to lower than 10 SNT unless the price of.
But like in SNT, so maybe 100.
So it should at least pay the gas of slashing a username. This is the minimum we can set. That should be like $2, something like this, depending on the gas price we set.
Oh, wait, then 10 SNT is too low, right? No?
Yeah, it depends on the SNT price, actually. But we can, as inside status, while the price doesn't stabilize, actually make ourselves the slashing if needed. I think that
how much would it cost without the slashing in terms of gas? Is the slashing so expensive?
No, actually, there is different cases and it has different prices. I can send the amount of gas each one gets. I don't remember in mind, but we just need to check in the contract. But it's not too much. It's like 200,000 gas, from what I remember. I will type here the number.
Maybe we could do a discuss post or a vote or something on it. I don't think.
So we wanted to when we should launch this. So is the parts on the status client ready, or so we should also know when is the timeline for launching this, because it's for then we need to set the price. So when we want to launch ENS usernames.
I feel like that's up to that swarm, whoever the team is working on it. So I guess that's Rachel, Barry, you, Alex. I don't know who else. Like whenever it's perceived to be ready and the security order has gone through, then just go for it, right? No.
I will. Yeah, it's already. We just need to set the price, and we're good to go.
But is it the user or the contract that pays for the slashing?
Sorry, the connection had a problem here.
Is it the user or the contract that pays for the slashing?
When you register a bad username, the amount you paid is rewarded to whoever informed the contract the rule that you broke. So basically, ourselves in status will call this, but anyone should be able to call it. So we will provide a node that you can that you were. So that would be when we implement in the status all this. So we can discuss this later. But basically, using the status nodes, they will send this message. Oh, look, this is a infringing username. Anyone can slash it. So in status nodes would get that status.
I would suggest maybe we can have a discuss topic on this, or sort of the swarm can decide it themselves. Because I don't think we have enough people like it. This, yeah, I don't know if anyone can sort of say, well, this is definitely going to be the price in this call right now.
Okay, for me, it's fine.
And we can also change that, you said, at some other later point. What's the sort of in terms of changing it? What would that require?
Not difficult to change. We need just the consensus of status developers, because it's the controller that needs to make a call, and it's a multi-sig wallet. So in future, when we have the voting controlling this application, when we have democracy, we need to actually a proposal to be accepted. But right now it's easier to change it.
Yeah. And maybe, Graham, I don't know, but maybe that could be something for the voting app as well, if you want. I don't know.
I mean, really, if anyone wants to use the voting app, it's up to.
Okay.
I mean, it's free to use. I guess the only question I have with that is this subject perhaps maybe a bit technical to warrant voting? But perhaps that's another conversation.
I guess by default it should be up to the swarm, and then as Ricardo said, that once we have sort of, it's a multi-sig, so there should be some kind of consensus. And if you want to change it, if some people think we should change it, we can take it up in another call, or have it a vote, or whatever. We don't have to decide it right now, I think, probably.
Cool. But yeah, if the voting app can be useful to make the decision, Ricardo, yeah, let's do it.
So that would be another discussion then in voting the apps, like how we implement that voting. Maybe we can use a mean, like if I say, oh, with 10 status and others say it's 100, we can take a mean on that. Or the most we have to discuss also that. So because how you make these proposals, you make a lot of options, or you make like type any price you want?
This is a big topic, and to deal with it properly, we probably need to, we can discuss it at a different call, but like it's like a big governance topic and we need some more background information.
Agreed.
I don't think we're not going to solve it in 5 minutes. Cool. So just other quick announcements, just very briefly. On Sunday, Friday to Saturday, at the hackathon in 2 weeks, we'll sort of do brainstorm of OKRs and so on. So if swarms or teams want to start thinking about that now, that could be useful. and then there'll be some voting and stuff, and you can read more about it, discuss. And then we also need to decide what to do with the next call, because I think next one will be in Prague. What are people's thoughts? Should we skip it, or how do you want to do it?
I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of conversations in Prague. We might want to skip this dev meeting.
All right, cool. Andrea, you had some thoughts on last factor, I think, if you're still here.
Yes, so I've struggled a bit with Jenkins this morning. I still didn't manage to get a build running. So that sort of like, I think we as developers, we need to take a bit more ownership of our build process in Jenkins, because at the moment we rely a lot on Jakob, and like he's done an exceptional job with Jenkins. But at least personally, I feel like I haven't done enough. And I think, like maybe it would be good if we could sort of like, if Jakob could show us the ropes, get us access, shows us what the most common problems are, like point us out, in the right direction, so that we can sort of like help out. Because at the moment, if Jakob is offline, for me, it's very difficult to sort of like get my way, and just fix the build basically. So yeah, that's all.
I mean, the biggest issue with Jenkins right now is that there is no way you can try repeating the build process that is on Jenkins on your local machine. So there is no way to debug this process except for just launching the job and looking at what happens. So
that is very true.
Super annoying. That's super annoying. So
there's also, I don't have access to a Mac machine, so like it would be very difficult for me to repeat it locally as well. I could get one, but I'd rather not.
I don't know if you hear me, but I agree. Like Jenkins currently has no way of running builds like that locally, and that is a real pain. And as for issues with Jenkins builds, it's mostly just trial and error. But yeah, I think there's a good alternative. And switching everything would be a huge job. But if you want to learn about more about Jenkins, you can always poke me. I'm happy to teach people.
Cool.
What could we have some kind of maybe run through? Because I think this also touches the monitoring stuff, like mail service stuff. Maybe just have like a quick demo and walk through on how to use it, so we sort of spread the knowledge of basic stuff. Maybe
there's no basic stuff. Jenkins has a lot of tribal knowledge, and there's a lot of very small things that you never need unless something very specific breaks. I think most people know the basics about Jenkins, but I'm happy to make a simple runbook for Jenkins if people do miss some basics.
We can just take the last 100 issues and try to actually. I hope there won't be 100 categories of that, because I feel like every time I try to fix Jenkins, it's something new. It's like it never repeats itself. But yeah, except maybe for disk space. But
one of the main pain points with Jenkins are essentially macOS slaves, which I'm actually fixing right now, because before it was all manual, so the different Jenkins slaves will slightly different depending on when they were configured, because there's some manual steps in Jenkins configuration for macOS, at least for us. But I'm trying to automate it right now, so for hopefully in the future, all the Jenkins slaves for macOS will be the same, which means builds will be more consistent.
macOS, you mean macOS builds, not iOS builds, right? So
iOS as well. I'm talking about both types of builds that run on macOS machines.
Yeah, but what's since we extracted all this Cocoa pods dependencies and all the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just pods. It's homebrew stuff and things that you have to install manually, like Xcode, which of course you have to point and click. There's no automation for that.
I mean, installing Xcode is actually automated right now, because a lot of people had some pain with that. But yeah, I think unfortunately you can just make a Docker image with that. So.
Yeah, I wish that was the case. I wish we could have a Docker image for macOS. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other quick sort of announcements or comments before we finish up?
Nope.
Yeah, just a request after this meeting. If anyone knows how to make the LAS server node to actually sync, server not a client, please ping me in the private chat room, because I'm really struggling with that right now.
All right, cool. So on that note, thank you everyone for joining, and see you in Prague in 2 weeks. Thank you. Bye.
See you.
See you. Thanks. Bye.